Are
Like,
you saying that Omega might be Jango Fett and Obi-Wan's love child?
the annoying thing is, most of the start of that episode was fine.
Yeah.
I would even say the part in the swamp, yes, it was dark, but like it was a red, orange kind of color scheme, and it felt fine. Then suddenly it's just like pitch black.
They kidnapped him once more, pumped him full of adamantium, a highly powerful compound metal alloy made of vibranium and steel. And once again, they brainwashed him. Alan looks like... I know he looked yoked last week when we saw him. He looked even bigger once you give him context of Immortal and Invincible alongside him.
You said about what if this season ends with something happening to Oliver? What if
maybe that's why he gets the new suit?
I'm okay with it. If it had been the entire writing room was like, we've never seen Star Wars, then I'd be like, But to have like one or two writers who have never actually watched Star Wars.
Hello, and welcome to episode 107 of Cutscene Combos. We have got a jam-packed episode this week. We have got character profile on X-Men Legend Wolverine. We'll be covering The Bad Batch, episode 8. We'll be covering Invincible, episode 6. And of course, episodes 1 and 2 of the brand new X-Men 97, before we wrap everything up with our Nerd News Network. But for all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
My week's been okay. I'm trying to think I honestly don't know where this week's gone. I was so lost on what day it was yesterday.
Sounds about right.
But yeah, it's kind of been a bit of I went to the girlfriend's at the weekend, spent that. Then this week's just kind of felt a bit weird. I don't know. Just haven't really closed up a project that I was working on, and then just kind of chilled. I don't really know what's gone on this week. It's just disappeared. Had some errands to run on like Tuesday, and then it's just like, yeah, it's been a weird one. And then we played Valorant last night, which kind of, I think, also my mental was just like, what year is it? We haven't played 5-stack Valorant in like the longest time.
When am I?
Yeah, it was just honestly just a bit of a weird week for me. But yeah, generally okay though. I can't complain.
Awesome.
How's your week been?
I have had a very good week. Very weird week as well. Like this week, I completely agree. It felt like Wednesday took 12 days, like to get to Wednesday. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's Friday in 4 hours at this time. And I'm just like, wait, sorry, how have we got here? Trying to sort out the flat has just had me almost constantly thinking like 7 days in advance.
Yeah, that's fair.
So if you'd have asked me the date any day this week, I would have honestly said like I couldn't tell you. Normally I'm pretty good at knowing the date, and I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. But we had some good movement on that side. We have exchanged contracts now. We are all set to complete on Monday. So I will be a homeowner come Monday, which is very, very exciting. Which means over the next few weeks, we will not be here. We'll be somewhere else.
Yeah, the background will be changing.
Yeah, it's all going to be completely different. So bear with for that. And the project I'm supposed to be working on at work this week. It's been crazy. It was supposed to start on Monday and take a week, and then it got delayed, and then it got delayed, and we thought we were only going to get to start today. And then we did manage to start yesterday.
Oh.
And somehow it looks like we are going to finish for tomorrow, which is a minor miracle. So on that front, we've done all pretty good. And on top of all that other good news, we've absolutely cooked with TV shows this week. So
we have had a good week of TV.
I've had a pretty damn good week. I'm big chilling. But let's get into our character profile. This week we've got Wolverine. Now I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Wolverine is one of the most iconic characters in comic book history. He's definitely up there in that conversation.
I think even more so. Yeah, I was going to say even more so for our generation. just purely
I
because of
mean,
the films.
yeah, in my opinion, the Marvel big three before the MCU was Hulk, Wolverine, and Spider Man.
Yeah. I would even
Which feels crazy
say,
to say now.
I mean, I would even say potentially not Hulk, but like I feel like our generation maybe Fantastic Four
Yeah,
because we got those films
yeah.
that were
Um,
better received. But yeah,
but
Wolverine
I
is
mean,
definitely
also
up
in our
there.
lifetime, Wolverine's lore has changed quite a bit. So let's jump straight in here. Wolverine, aka Logan, aka James Howlett, first appeared in Incredible Hulk number 180 in July 1974. Born into a very wealthy Canadian family near the end of the 19th century, James Howlett was set for life before even living. As a child, he was always sick and struggled to survive his various illnesses. It was only when his father, John Howlett, was murdered by their groundskeeper, Thomas Logan, that his powers first manifested. Using his bone claws and newly found animalistic ferocity, James killed his father's murderer and fled. However, James had not actually killed his father's murderer. Instead, he was guilty of his own father's murder, as James was not John's son, but rather an illegitimate child that his mother Elizabeth had during an affair with Thomas Logan, their groundskeeper. Over the next few years, James, who chose to adopt the name Logan, found himself travelling and working wherever he could find it, just trying to survive and keep his animalistic behaviours sidelined. He worked many menial and physical jobs and loved many women. However, something would always go wrong. On numerous occasions, this would be down to his arch rival Sabretooth, who would arrive, attack Logan, potentially his partner, or the town he was currently living in to try and run him off and ruin his life again. Logan would go on to take place in most major conflicts of the next few decades. Most notably, during World War II, he would meet and work with Blade, Bucky Barnes, Captain America, as well as Nick Fury Sr. He fought through all of these wars and became stronger, faster, and harder to kill. Eventually, after even more tragedy in his family life, leaving his wife and son dead, he joined the Weapon X program, where his memory was wiped and he was used as a pawn by the military for many years. However, after an incident unlocked his hidden memories, he decided to leave the unit. However, his time with the Weapon X program wasn't over, as a few years after he left, they kidnapped him once more, pumped him full of adamantium, a highly powerful compound metal alloy made of vibranium and steel, and once again they brainwashed him, trying to turn him into a pure animalistic weapon. After a few missions, however, they lost control due to his animalistic nature, and he escaped after being shot during a feral attack of passerbys. He managed to regain his memories again, or partially. This would lead to him becoming the Wolverine on the Canadian military's superhero team. He would work for this team for many months, including to help them take down the Hulk. After this, he would be approached by Charles Xavier to join the X-Men, and despite not always seeing eye to eye with Charles or the team leader Cyclops, he has since found a constant and continuous home with the X-Men.
Hmm.
Wolverine is really funny, because I think to the layman, they would
Hmm.
assume he's like the face of the X-Men,
Yeah.
when in reality he's just not. He's a murderous psychopath who's been abused by many people over his lifetime to just be a murderous psychopath
Yeah.
who's like constantly being given chances by the X-Men and Xavier and Cyclops to try and be a better person. Um
Yeah, he's really is just the grumpy old guy that Charles is like, no, you're like, we know you're a good person deep down.
Yeah. And like Wolverine's had a very historied life. Obviously, we
Mm.
can't cover it all in such a short character profile, but like he spent time in Japan, in loads of different villages. He's learnt loads of different styles of martial arts. He's just lived for so long. He's
Well, yeah.
like at the point where he doesn't know if it's a blessing or a curse.
Yeah, I think, like, I do think a lot of people, because obviously they remember him from the X-Men films, which is like just a short period, realistically.
Mm,
Like, he has lived through many, many years. So it's like, as you would expect from someone that's gone through that and been hunted all through that, like, yeah, he's not going to be the
yeah,
cheeriest fellow.
exactly. And he has been given some just phenomenally interesting storylines. I know there's a very popular one which I've not actually read. I can't remember if this is Ultimates Universe or not, where there was a kid whose mutation had taken place.
Right.
Unfortunately for this child, his mutant ability was he secreted just a toxic gas, which meant anyone he was near to just dropped dead.
Yeah.
So obviously in a panic, he's run into the forest he's hiding out there, but no one can go out to him, otherwise they die.
Mm.
So they send Logan out to him because Logan can out heal it.
Yeah.
And he takes a couple of beers with him. He sits down with his kid who's like 14, and he has a chat and he gives the kid a beer and he's like,
I knew that was coming.
I was like, I think you know why I'm here. We don't need to rush, but have a beer, you're gonna want it. And it's never explicitly shown, but it is implied almost with certainty that Logan's been sent out to just kill this 14-year-old because the kid can't be safely housed or taken care of. They are too dangerous.
Yeah.
And because of Logan's ability, he's the one who has to go out and kill the kid.
Mm.
And it just
I,
kind of it shows like that horrible side of, yes, he's used to killing, he knows how to kill, he can live with it as best he
mm.
can, but as a result of that, he doesn't get given a chance to really try and stop doing that because anytime someone needs to be killed,
Yeah,
it falls to him.
that's the thing. Cause his like healing factor, all his life he's been used essentially as, oh, no one else can do this, but you can't die. It's on you. And he's like, oh, well,
Um,
okay.
and
He
it's
just
just
shoulders
a
it.
heartbreaking scene that I think one day could be adapted really well for like a heartbreaking moment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, very interesting character Wolverine. I'm very excited to see him return in Deadpool 3
Mm.
and also any other X-Men media we're going to get over the next few years.
Yeah.
On to my second favorite team, the Bad Batch. I'm going to be honest.
Oh.
This one felt a bit like a filler episode. It wasn't outrageously filler, and I maybe what we're going to find out in the next episode is going to stop this feeling like a filler episode. But right now, despite enjoying the episode, it felt like a filler episode.
So I somewhat agree. I would say it wasn't necessarily like a full on just filler. It was definitely a setup episode. Um, because there's somebody from the trailer that everyone was very excited to see in the trailer, and we still haven't had arrive yet or make an appearance. That is Asajj Ventress.
Yes,
And I am almost certain that that is who Fennec contacted at the end of this episode. It
that would
would,
make a lot of sense.
it would, especially
And she'd also know
because,
what an M count is.
yeah, she'd understand M count, she'd understand these M count bounties. It would kind of make sense that maybe that's what she's doing, just become a bit of a bounty hunter. We know she's not on either side anymore.
Yeah.
Um, or potentially she's taking the M count bounties, but then not handing them in. Maybe she's doing something there, like trying to protect these. But yeah, it was definitely a more filler esque episode, which I think we'll be okay in the grand scheme of things because I do think this is going to be maybe the only one, if maybe we get like one other one.
Yeah.
Uh, they just needed that way to kind of tie in why Asajj Ventress was going to rock up, I think.
The other thing, and this is just a nitpicky thing, Star Wars animation for a long, long time
Hmm.
has done something that no other show is very good at doing, and I always loved them for it.
Mm-hmm.
In Rebels, especially, anytime there was a nighttime
Yeah, I
scene,
knew I was going.
they made it really easy to still see what the fuck was happening,
Mm-hmm.
and they've stopped doing that. And my god, it's doing my head in. Because here's the thing: on a big TV, laying in bed, it probably wouldn't have been a biggest issue for me.
Mm.
Problem is, we've got a lot of shit to watch this week for Thursday night, and everything comes out on Wednesday and Thursday. So I'm watching The Bad Batch on my lunch break today on a phone in a brightly lit room, so there's glare anyway. I'm on a tiny screen and it's dark as fuck.
I was watching on my computer in this very position, and it was like midday. I had to get up and close my blind.
Because the glare was just making it impossible.
It
Because of
just
how dark
it
it was.
reached that point where like I wasn't necessarily getting glare, but like it was. I was like trying to lean in. It's like the annoying thing is most of the start of that episode was fine.
Yeah.
I would even say the part in the swamp, yes, it was dark, but like it was a red orange kind of color scheme, and it felt fine. Then suddenly it's just like pitch black, and I don't know if they've
I
messed the lighting up on that,
yeah.
but
I don't get it. Animation is such a fun art style that we have
mm,
seen really flourish in the last few years. Why are we trying to light it like it's traditional media? Like it's film and live action? You can make it whatever fucking colour you want. If you make it very clear at the beginning of a show, oh, when everything is bright pink, that's nighttime, no one will question it. They might
yeah.
go, I don't like the style, but they won't question it. They'll see the pink and they'll go, right, cool, it's nighttime.
Well, it's like the thing is, it's like they could have kept that orangey red up until like he stepped into this praying mantis guy's hut, and then you could have been like, okay, it's a bit darker in there, so you can like have him hidden away in the shadow. But yeah, the that even I was like, why are we this dark on an animated show?
It was crazy. Crazy.
Uh,
But overall, I did enjoy the episode. I know I've just listed two more nitpicky
no,
things,
it was
but it was still a very good episode. It was progressing the overarching story.
yeah.
We got to see Rekka just being Rekka, which I'm
I
always a fan
I
of.
loved Rekka going straight primal and just wrestling the crocodiles.
I
Honestly, it was
really
so good.
enjoyed Omega and Crosshair.
Mm, yes.
Also, is Omega going to end up being force sensitive?
I
Because
don't think
they're
so.
they're
Uh,
interested in her because of her M count and like what she can do for the M count clone situation.
yeah.
Then she's like, she clearly done a fair bit of exploring. While Kashyyyk doesn't produce loads of Jedi's, we know it's quite a force sensitive place because of all the plant life. That's
Mm.
why Yoda liked going there, and we know she visited there. Is she
I
like minorly force sensitive?
so I don't think she's gonna be force sensitive. I think we probably will never get an answer to why she's like linking with the M account so much. We know
Yeah,
that she is the same kind of base clones as the others, but they've obviously tweaked and mixed stuff in. I
yeah.
wonder if part of maybe it was Palpatine's initial things where he was getting them to start doing this, or it was just the Camoans were trying to like experiment. I wonder if they've taken some of the Jedi genes and started playing around with like, what if we mix in stuff? Can we make another
Are
like?
you saying that Omega might be Jango Fett and Obi-Wan's love child?
I'm not saying that because it
I think
wasn't
I think you
Obi-Wan
just
who
said that.
commissioned the clones.
But he did go to
He did. But like that's what I mean. Like it could be that they've been playing around because obviously like these like Omega and the Bad Batch are like clones that they've tried something different with.
yeah.
Um but yeah, she's very much I liked how we also almost got a Yoda reference with Crosshair when she's like, "Oh, that was close." And he's like, "There is no close. It's hit or miss." It felt very. There is no try. Only do
Yeah.
or do not. I love the idea though that Crosshair has to learn to meditate to heal himself.
I love it so much. And it's like it's so Star Wars as well. It's like
Mm,
this is an injury of the mind more than the body. You need to come to peace with everything.
I am intrigued to know why he doesn't. He's clearly hiding something about when he was experimented on. That he doesn't want to share.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's either during that when they were like prying, like doing tests on him, maybe he leaked some information and he feels guilty, or maybe there was a point
Oh, that's a good
where
option.
he actually, because of that where he was at mentally, maybe he's feeling guilty that there was a point when he actually wanted to succeed at the tests and be one of those. Because like he's always strived to be, the Bad Batch have always strived to be the best clones,
Yeah.
and like he wants to be the best sniper. So maybe there was a part of him that wanted it at that time, and he feels guilty for that now. I don't know.
I like the idea that he's released some information he shouldn't have, and he's feeling guilty. So it's like a nervous punishment himself. Yeah, I can see that working. Um, and it is definitely at least partially psychosomatic. I won't be completely surprised if after he like gets over the emotional side of it, we do find out there's a little bit of physical damage there. Um, but it'll be very interesting to see how that arc concludes.
I wonder if it'll conclude with him finally admitting what happened, and then it's like him letting that go is what gets him past the shakes.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, what we're seeing is PTSD.
Yeah, yeah, we
And
are.
it's once again just Star Wars animation tackling the most outrageously complex subjects in something that looks like it's for kids, which is just hilarious and brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed Fennec in this because obviously
Yes.
we've had Fennec in Mando, which is a very
Hmm.
different Fennec, and this is like primetime bounty hunter Fennec who only cares for herself, and I kind of enjoyed it. I
Yeah,
enjoyed how she
absolutely.
didn't give a shit about the others. I
I
like
was
the
when I was watching it, I was trying to remember timeline wise if she'd met Boba Fett yet, because obviously this was
no.
prime time Boba as well. So I'm like, are we gonna get
So
Boba?
Boba would still be he'd still be fairly young
Hmm.
and early bounty because like she mentioned the M count bounties are for like tier one bounty hunters or whatever.
Oh, so he's probably not qualified for them yet.
Yeah, so I think Fennec and Cad Bane are like top of the fucking run.
List at the minute, yeah.
And then yeah, Boba would be rocking around, but I don't think she's quite
It
buddy
would
buddy
be
with
cool
him
to
or
see
anything.
Boba at some point, just because he's also a clone and
And like yeah,
interesting.
young. That would be quite cool actually if he rocked up just briefly.
Yeah.
But
Especially since we saw him at the end of the Clone Wars as well. It'd be cool to get like an update on
yeah,
how he's doing.
true. That would be quite good actually.
Hmm.
But I'm looking forward to next week. Hopefully we get this Asajj Ventress kind of payoff and a bit more into learning why like, about this M count, them figuring that out and kind of leading up to clearly Rex and Echo have now gone off to do more research on the facility. It's all leading in that direction of a breakout, um, which
Yeah,
I'm kind of looking forward to.
I'm pretty sure, but I'm just gonna double check. I think not next week, the week after is another double bill.
There is like a mid-season double bill.
Yeah, episode 10 and 11 on April 3rd is a double bill. So next week is called The Harbinger, which definitely is an Asajj Ventress thing.
Yeah,
So we're going to get an episode of them tracking down Asajj or whatever.
or
And
she's
then
going to come
whatever
find
week.
them.
Yeah, and however that episode ends leads into a double bill.
Which in which case then Sarge's gonna show up because she's gonna come look. I got the sense that the way Fennec talked, she's like, "Oh, you'll be able to find them," so she'll go find them herself and rock up. They're gonna find out about M count and why it's so important and why they want Omega. They're gonna contact Rex and Echo. This will be into the double episode. First one will be them contacting it. They figured it out. Then there's gonna be some initial heist or like something's gonna go down to set up the second half of the season. Very exciting stuff though.
Yeah, I'm so ready for it. Invincible, episode 6.
Yes.
Second week since it's been back.
Yeah.
Does the break suck? Yes. Is this show still absolute fire? Yes. I miss this show so much. I'm so glad it's back, and it sucks that it's going to be gone again so quickly.
Yeah, it sucks that we've not got many episodes and it's going to be gone again, like you say. It was a good episode, and it kicked off with Rex. Not Rex.
Yeah, Rex.
No, Rex, yeah.
Rex just tanking a bullet to the head.
Yeah.
And getting up and continuing to kick his ass is one of the funniest and badass things we've ever seen. Because it's not even like he was serious after he got shot in the head. It like messed him a little bit, and he was a little bit like said, shut the fuck up.
I'll be honest, he got like obviously cuts to the scene where it left, and it's just like he's like, go on, do it, and he shoots him. I'm like, huh. They really were that brutal and like left it on that cliffhanger for the fans that were hoping just to go and shoot him in the back of the head. And I was like, oh, that's pretty brutal of the showrunners. Wasn't expecting him to get up.
The worst thing is the promotion they did yesterday and today was they tweeted a character poster of Rex, and they went, "Oh, Rex has got a character poster now. I sure hope it doesn't go to his head."
Oh dear.
Fucking outrageous banter. I can't believe Shrink Ray survived.
Oh yeah, I know. I genuinely thought she was dead.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they also made that scene more brutal than the comic counterpart.
Oh, did they?
So in the comic, he just grabs her and eats her.
Oh.
And she doesn't expand or try to expand.
Yeah.
Which, by the sounds of it, at the time, people were a little bit like, her whole thing is she gets small and big. Surely she'd at least try to get big.
Right.
So I think that was kind of them addressing that. But they were like, well, no, she still needs to get eaten. So we'll just have a more brutal version where he tanks this and just...
Yeah, she passes out, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was surprised that she was still alive.
Then we were back on the spaceship where we left the gang.
Yep.
Which was an incredibly intense situation, which, I mean, it really did just pick up where it left off with that, wasn't it? It was like chaos, aliens.
It really did. And we got like, obviously, I'm forgetting everyone's name. Atomy was unconscious, and you've got Robot Boy figuring out
to make the machine.
Yeah. I liked how we saw, like, obviously it succeeds, and then we got like Invincible and Immortal have a little bit of a ego war over who should carry the thing.
You can tell Immortal's got a lot of resentment for Invincible purely because of his father still. And I think this was like the first step in them mending that relationship slightly. But it's very much like, I see you and all I can see is your father, so like I don't fucking like you.
Yeah, he just sees the person that murdered him.
Yeah.
I love the way that they kind of Atom Eve and that like bubbled, and the way the camera for a split second showed you two of the little squid things crawling behind them, and it's like you don't get a chance to like process it. Cuts to everything. You're like, success. And then it turns around and they're just both taken over. And let's be real, Atom Eve under control is a scary thought.
Genuinely harrowing. genuinely harrowing.
Especially after what we
Um,
know from her special or whatever.
Yeah, and there is also the consideration of there's a mental block on her powers.
Mm,
Would the Sequid be affected by that mental block, or could they use the full extent of her powers?
I reckon they could eventually bypass it.
So do I, which would be even more terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, but they managed to deal with the Sequid problem.
They did.
I really enjoy. I don't know if I just found this funny because it was a bit like of the way it cut, but the Martian saying you can't leave with that traitor. You guys can go, but he's staying, and we're going to execute him because he destroyed our world.
Mm.
And Mark just going, understandable. And then the ship just like bursting out like a heist is so funny to me. I don't know why. The cutaway and someone like desperately trying to escape will never not be funny to me. It's one
Yeah,
of them tropes that I adore.
it was the way that it's like, oh, and what would the punishment be? And it's like, death, of course. It's like, yeah, understandable. It's just like, boom, and they're running. And then I just love the way that they're trying to escape. And then Mark is just like, right, okay, open the airlock. And he literally, like, essentially casually just goes, boom, 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 and just destroys them and gets back in. And he's like, right, we can go home now.
He found that a bit too hot, in my opinion, but
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
yeah, she was definitely like, hey, wow, that's impressive.
The man has Riz.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, Debbie's the GOAT.
Yes.
She got dumped with an alien child of her ex-husband who tried to kill her entire planet.
Mm-hmm.
And she's taken it like a champ. She's protecting the child from the federal government and raising it as her own. And
Yep.
she's not moaning about it. She's not bitching about it. She's just like, it's not the kid's fault. It's Mark's brother. Therefore, they
Yeah.
are also my family.
Yeah, I think she's like realized that it's not necessarily like she's looked past the fact it's Omni-Man's kid and what that means. And like actually this kid didn't choose that. It is Mark, like you say, it's Mark's brother. No one else is going to protect this kid. Like I've already raised one Viltrumite. Surely I can just do it again. I know what I'm doing. And she knows like, well, I raised Mark, he turned out all right, so maybe it's on me to make sure this one turns out all right too.
A worse job with Mark would have joined his father and become a murderous Viltrumite. Like, Debbie is truly the hero of this entire show.
Yeah.
I can't wait for us to get into like season 7. It turns out she's the main villain or some bullshit now.
I'm just looking forward to this kid growing up a bit more, and then it's like, another Viltrumite on Earth.
I've got a horrible feeling that
Oh.
Oliver dies a horrible death.
Oh no.
Because I'm just thinking, like, I've seen a lot of stuff in the future of this show,
Oh no.
and I've never really seen any reference to Oliver. But the speed he grows at and being Viltrumite, in my head, he would be like useful. So I'm really worried about Oliver. Because the kid's fucking cute. I don't want him to get hurt.
What if Immortal takes
I'll
his
just go,
anger out on
maybe.
who knows?
I will say the shot of Immortal sat in the morgue, surrounded by all of Duplicate's bodies, was like, in the worst way possible, such a cool shot.
Yeah, because it's actually so like kind of something I hadn't considered is that well, they're gonna have to bury each one of those bodies because like they are each like it's not like they just vanish after she's and there's only one core one. I quite liked as well like how they showed that this hit harder for Immortal.
And I think that's almost like an imagery in that morgue scene. Because, yeah, he only lost one person, but because of the amount of corpses around him, it's like but look how much he lost physically.
Yeah.
Like the actual amount he lost.
Yeah. No,
I think that was a
100%.
really interesting bit of imagery. And I definitely can see this leading down a kind of slide for Immortal where potentially things go a little bit bad there, and we have a bit of a problem to deal with.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw a little bit of that with how he reacted to Alan.
I love Alan so much.
He's so good. And like, he obviously, Immortal kind of realized himself when he got called out on, like, oh shit, I did just start fighting this guy without any, like, being provoked or anything.
Yeah, he's just seen a big muscly alien outside of Earth, and he's gone swinging.
Yeah. I love that Alan's trying to explain, like, he's like, oh yeah, it's our technology so we can talk in your heads. And then obviously Mark talks to him, and then Mark turns to Invincible to talk, and then Alan's like, yeah, this only works between me and you.
Yeah,
Like,
there's no
just
pass
let him
through.
say the whole thing, and then was like,
Mhm.
you're still talking to me, mate.
So funny. Um, Alan looks like, I know he looked yoked last week when we saw him. He looked even bigger once you give him context of Immortal and Invincible
Yeah,
alongside him.
yeah. And when he like sat on the bed and it just instantly broke, and he's like, sorry.
Yeah. It's also the way Mark mentions how much bigger he is. He's like, "You're bigger than the last time I saw you." He's like, "Yeah, apparently this is what happens when I nearly die."
So yeah, he's like, when I nearly died fighting Viltrumites. And then there's like no question. Mark's not like,
Yeah.
wait, what? You fought Viltrumites or anything?
I mean, with the last couple of weeks Mark's had, he's
Yeah,
probably not
true.
surprised. He's
True.
like, "Yeah, no, that tracks, I guess." Get beaten half to death, muscles. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger has never been so literal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I loved when he started reading the books as well, Mark, and then obviously he comes to show them. I was like, these feel like they're going to be Omni Man's way of actually just, these are things he's done over the years, and they
Yeah.
are real things. Obviously, people on Earth wouldn't believe that. So they're sci-fi stories. And then when Alan's like, huh, yeah, no, he's just got a different name, but this is a very real legendary guy. I mean, as far as legendaries go.
Yeah. It's it's really interesting because it changes kind of what we know about Omni Man. Was he
Mm,
writing these books based on true story because he thought, oh, the humans won't know these stories and it'll be easy for me to make money and then I don't have to worry about it? Or was he not that sure about the Viltrumites when he arrived on Earth and he was building up a backup plan?
well, we don't know how long he was on Earth before he wrote them. So
Yeah,
maybe it started to have a shift. But then I think they are stories from like him as a Viltrumite going to different planets, liberating them, doing different things. He's stuff he's learned, found things like, oh, this was harder to beat than normal. And then as his mindset shifted, he's gone, hang on a second. These were things that were really difficult for me to succeed. There's some use of knowledge here for if we.
so you think he was just telling his stories, but as he's then pivoted, he's realized if you use that information, you can work out what's good against Viltrumites. Do you
Yeah,
think?
he's like sort of come to realize, wait, these are technically my weak things I've struggled with. And if I in him, probably a bit of ego of being like, I'm the strongest Viltrumite, and these were difficult things for me to beat. Good to know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's
yeah.
definitely really interesting, especially the scene of Nolan in prison at the end. Um,
Mm,
it's so interesting to get like that glimpse into Viltrumite society,
yeah.
where they're like, "You were one of our best. You went around. You conquered so many planets for us. Don't let your great Viltrumite story end as a traitor."
Yeah, and they're like, oh, this planet called Earth must be toxic if it was able to change our best Viltrumite.
I guess that's kind of like a, obviously we don't agree with like their philosophy naturally,
Mm,
but you can kind of see in a society where they think they are so much superior to everyone else and they're so much better than everyone else, and
hmm
this person has lived for this long and they've conquered these hundreds of planets, what in your guys' lifespan seems like a fraction of a second
Yeah.
of being on this planet, he's like completely 180'd.
Mm.
I can imagine that would be,
It yeah,
in a way,
from
almost harrowing.
from their point of view, he's basically been radicalized overnight. And
Yeah,
it's like, it's not a good place then.
yeah. What has happened? What, like, pardon the pun, Earth puss that good?
I mean, clearly so.
Um, but yeah, no, it's crazy, and I'm really interested. I hope we get to see soon more of the Viltrumite society to get a better idea of like how they function. Because yeah, we know they had the Great Purge and they killed off all the weak Viltrumites, only the strong could remain. But what does the Viltrumite Empire actually look like now? How does it
mm,
work? Really, really
I
curious.
I wouldn't be surprised if the before the end of the season or by the end of the season, Omni-Man's like they arrive back at the home planet for his trial, and we kind of get a glimpse of what that place is like, sort of like a setup to be like, this is the force that's coming to Earth, and get us worried about, oh shit, they're gonna have to fight this.
Yeah,
Um,
because right now we've got like a resistance of like 2.5 Viltrumites and an Alan the alien.
yeah, an absolutely yoked alien that might be able to fight a Viltrumite now. We don't know.
Might be. I don't. I've got a feeling that Alan dying and coming back stronger is going to be like a recurring theme.
Yeah,
Which, if that is the case, I want to see him after like 9 more deaths, just to see how comically large he gets.
just gets absolutely
Yeah.
shredded.
Seth Rogen's voice for Alan the alien is
This
still
is
one of the
so
best
good.
decisions made. He
Oh,
works so well.
it works perfectly for that character, and the way like in the moment it's like, oh, basically I forget the boss's name, but it's like he's gonna be so mad at me if
Thaddeus.
Thaddeus is gonna be so mad when I come back empty-handed.
I wouldn't want to disappoint Optimus Prime, would you?
No, that's a good point.
It's also curious to see how Amber and Mark's relationship is dissolving.
Yeah, and we
Because
kind of
neither
we
of
talked
them,
about this last week, I think, and
yeah,
we knew it was
because
coming.
it's really interesting. Because, like we said, Amber's not anti him being a hero. In fact, she loves the fact that
Mm.
he's willing to put himself in danger to help people. And she would never ever want him to stop being a hero because that's what makes him him. But at the same time, being in love with a superhero is fucking hard. They're
Yeah,
gone for long periods of time. They're always in danger. When duty calls, everything gets dropped, including you.
and Mark even knowing like his point of view, he's feeling bad because he keeps ditching her, and then he's also like, we hated it when my dad just would up and leave, but we also felt guilty that we couldn't say anything because he was off saving the world.
Yeah,
It's like he knows how Amber's feeling because he felt that, but then he's feeling it's like they're both just like feeling guilty when really they just need to talk about, look, either it's they both need to just talk about, look, it's okay for you to be feeling how you do, and then decide if it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work out.
I'm not going to say too much because I know how that
Oh, okay.
goes. But yeah, massive shocker. The takeaway is if you're in a relationship, talk to your partner, and you
Yeah,
can work
I
out what's
loved the
best for
bit
both of you.
when Eve was just like, well, the question is, if you're concerned you're not seeing him enough and he's now back on Earth for a while, why are you here not with him?
Yeah,
Which is actually a really good question. Like, why are you two avoiding each other?
yeah. What are we doing here, ladies and gentlemen?
Um,
Um,
I
I
thought when
am
oh go on.
I am really curious to see where we end this season because obviously
Mm.
nothing major is getting wrapped up this season with only 2 episodes left. They are definitely going to leave us on a massive cliffhanger for season 3, and I'm just really curious to see what else progresses in different storylines before that happens.
Well, Yeah, there's going to be a cliffhanger because also the thing at the end of this episode was Mr. Time Travel Boy is on his way back,
Mm-hmm.
suited and booted. We know, going off your theory with the title screen, which also this week, I love that it was Rex that triggered it when
Yeah.
he was like, I was almost feeling.
Yeah. You know me, I'm basically
We're obviously going to get the reveal of that suit. So I feel like something needs to happen for that to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just teasing that suit or if we'll get it at the end of this season. Because
I
I don't
think
have the context around that suit. All I know is once he gets that suit is when shit gets real.
I wonder if. I think there's going to be some reason he gets that suit. I also, there's so many, like you said, there's so many things going on. None of them feel close enough to wrapping up in the next 2 episodes.
And we've still got a lot to go as well. We've still got whoever Josh Keaton's character is. We've still got your vampire-y, invincible-looking boy with the cape from the mid-season trailer. Like, there's still a lot of things to happen
Yeah.
over the next few weeks. I'm genuinely really curious how batshit crazy the next 2 episodes are going to be.
Well, considering how season 1 ended,
Yes.
I do worry. You said about what if this season ends with something happening to Oliver? What
And
if
maybe that's why he gets the new suit, and that's why he goes like maybe a bit darker. Oh
shit.
shit! Oh, you might be right. That's plausible.
And that would be a hell of a way to end and leave everyone just waiting.
Yeah, that's one way to make Mark a lot more brutal. Viltrumites turn up and kill his baby brother. Ooh.
Or Time Travel Boy turns up
And kills his baby brother.
to be like, oh, you care about this thing? Yeah, it's not looking good.
It's not looking good, bruv. Do you know what is looking good, though?
What would that be?
X-Men 97. Oh, it's so peak. It's fucking fire, bruv. I was giggling like a school child watching them episodes last night. They are so elite.
It was very good.
The slight variation of the theme tune is obviously not as iconic as the original because the original is ingrained in our childhood. Still amazing. The
Still hit the same.
recreation of the title
Intro
sequence, but in the new animation style. Oh, I love it so much. It's
and the
so
tweaks.
Good.
Like obviously they've tweaked it and stuff. The thing that I saw online, because obviously everyone's like, Rogue's flat.
Yeah.
Sag. They've ruined our goddess Rogue. And then there's a clip in the title sequence when she's flipping the Sentinel over and someone freeze framed it as she's like leaping forward and she's like straddle pose and everyone's like, no, they're giving us new poses.
So here's the thing that I found really funny about that. Like the one screenshot they always use is from the scene with Apocalypse where she's on her side. But there are so many scenes in the original show where she is really flat. It's just that is like the iconic image from the show, and they saw another still from the new version where she was flat, like she was most of the time in the original show. It was just so funny. People getting bent out of shape about that. Let's just be completely clear: the X-Men are huge sluts. They just are. Like, did you see what Gambit was wearing while making breakfast? What is that man doing walking around in a crop top?
Man doesn't care. Man. I mean, he also threw an exploding card in the kitchen with everyone around and just didn't give a shit. So,
crazy. That first fight scene.
Yes.
We were so back.
It did feel like just watching like it was back there. It was just like straight back into it.
But it was also better because they were using like 3D animation to make the fight so much more dynamic. It was awesome.
Well, it's
the coolest stuff we've ever seen from Cyclops in any media outside a comic book. Like using the jets to like push himself around and fucking awesome.
See, that was something I was like, obviously I was watching, I was like, this makes sense. But I was like, I don't remember if this was like always a thing.
No, basically never. Because here's the thing: the misconception with his powers is obviously that he shoots lasers, which isn't
Hmm.
the case. His eyes are a portal to the
Yeah.
punch dimension. It's a concussive blast. So it makes complete sense that he could use it, like he did later in the show, to stop himself from falling, or he
Hmm.
could use it to push himself around. It was just so cool to see that used so fluidly and dynamically.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing with the new animation techniques and abilities now that they have is you can have way more different dynamic camera angles and dynamic camera movements with animated stuff that just allows them to have a lot more fun with fights, like you say.
Yeah.
It was
Um,
very cool though. And
Another cool use of powers when
oh
they're in the desert, Storm using her powers to turn the sand into glass.
yes.
Oh
See,
my
do you know what's
god,
funny?
this is what
Is
the
like
X-Men should be.
when Cyclops was landing, I was like in my head, I'm like, I feel like that would glass up like when like in sci-fi stuff when planets get glassed. I was just like, I feel like the sand should turn to glass with his like things, and it just kind of just blew it up the ground. Then Storm, like a few seconds later, actually turns it to glass, and I'm like, oh okay, I was my brain was in the right place, just different hero.
So cool. Um Gambit and Wolverine's like team up move that we saw in the
Mm,
trailer, so good in person. I loved it so much. It was just really cool to see everyone flying about. The dialogue feels as good as ever.
yeah,
Yes, all the voice actors are like 20 years older now, so their voices are naturally a little bit different,
mm,
but you can still feel the iconicness of them.
yeah,
Beast using a thesaurus for every word for no fucking reason
I fucking
is
love it.
still just so. I love it so much. It feels so good to be back. It was really cool to get Sunspot in the first episode. So that's Roberto, who they
Right,
saved. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Sunspot. I didn't twig based on his name, but when at the end of the episode he showed his power off, I was
Mm,
like, "Wait, is that Sunspot?" I googled it and I was right. I felt like such a nerd. That was a proud nerd moment. Um, so that's really cool. Um, Magneto is going to be so interesting throughout this show
mm,
because it kind of Magneto and Charles have always been two sides of the same coin, and they've respected each other because they know that the other one does genuinely believe in what they want,
yeah,
and they think they don't completely think the other person's wrong, but they think they're missing a piece.
yep,
And it's almost like after losing his best friend, Magneto was like, "Right, Charles, I'll try it your way."
yeah. And I think also
Um,
the fact that like he left him in charge, he's also gone, okay, fine, I give in. You've been pestering me to come to your side. You've basically like he's forced his hand, and he's gone, fine, okay, I will try. Like you say, I'll try it your way now.
yeah,
We'll see how it goes.
yeah. Um, I I genuinely thought they were gonna like bait us, and it was gonna be like a, oh, we think okay, Magneto's gonna try and be good. Look, he's let himself get
Hmm.
taken in, cool. And then the guy shot Storm, and I was like, okay, cool. He's gonna be like, I gave you a fucking chance, and you've already blown it.
Yeah, I
But the
thought he was going
fact
to
that
do the
he was
same.
like, I'm giving you a chance, do not make me regret this. I was like, oh shit, Magneto redemption arc, Magneto being better? Question mark.
Well, I mean, it's like I was the same when he took them up into lower orbit essentially, and was
Yeah.
just like, I was like, ah, shit, here we go.
Yeah, it's raining judges.
I thought he was, and then I was like, okay, maybe he's not going to do this, but maybe he's going to prove a point and do something to the executioner.
Yeah,
Um, but he didn't, and then I was like, oh shit, he actually is trying, going to give this a go, and he's doing this in a way that's going to, he knows he's going to gain some trust off the X-Men.
I,
Um,
I don't completely trust him, which I think is
no,
kind of the point. We
yeah,
are
well, yeah,
aware this is Magneto. We're not supposed to trust him. We should, like the X-Men, be watching him like a fucking hawk. But I'm really curious to see how this develops. Um, my favorite bit though of the two episodes,
go
the
on.
funniest thing I think I've seen in like a Marvel situation is Jean going, Wolverine, he's here. Wolverine popping his claws, going, who, Apocalypse? and her just going, no, the baby.
Yeah,
Fucking sent me.
it was just like,
So funny.
as soon as you could just tell, it was like fully expected. It was like full aggro mode, like, oh shit, someone's here to break in. I get to have a fight. Let's go. Because he obviously wasn't allowed to go to the courthouse. And then he's like, no, the baby's here. And he's like, wait, no, that's an adult thing. I don't want to have to deal with this.
The sheer panic in his eyes is like, oh, you want me to fight like the god of mutants? Yeah, no worries. A baby? What do you
I don't know.
mean?
I don't know how to deal with these. And then him
also-
driving down the street and just going on the pavement and just being like, not a care in the world.
Yeah.
And then
So good.
and then threatening the doctor because the doctor wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know it's an allegory for anything. If a doctor who's like, no, I'm not going to help you because you're different, not a good doctor. I have no issue with that. Rogue coming in, and again, yes, Rogue has very scary and destructive powers, but getting to see her use them for good, and like Jean and Scott being like, no, we trust you to deliver the baby. You've got this. She's like, right. And then the way the nurses like respected her, the way she said, get an IV going, it's like, oh, she knows. She a doctor now.
Yeah, they just watched it and then it was like the tone of voice shift and they were like, okay, yes. Not going to question this. There's a guy there with really sharp claws behind you.
Exactly. It was really cool to see Morph and Wolverine's friendship again. Really, really nice to see. Because Morph's like, he's that shit cam best friend who takes the piss out of you constantly but does actually care. And I really enjoyed that.
I enjoyed
really
him
curious to
constantly.
see what other characters we get.
Yeah, I enjoyed him constantly picking like pretty important characters to pretend to be at like what felt like the worst moments to do it.
Yeah. Now I've never claimed to be great with X-Men lore. In fact, I've been very clear that I'm not phenomenal with it. So Nathaniel Summers, I'm 99% sure is Cable. So that's who's just been born, Cable. You got to remember Cable's a time traveler, which is why we see the older version of him, but he's travelled back from the future. But I'm pretty sure, although his parents are Jean Grey and Cyclops, his mum is actually a clone of Jean Grey. So,
well, end of episode 2.
So it's not that crazy. I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, a clone of Jean? I think they're just kind of pretty accurately adapting.
Yeah, they're just kind of making it out that it was under their note, like it was a hidden thing that happened.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what it was because I'm not sure if you will remember, but people who've gone back and watched the original X-Men cartoon will remember one of the storylines they adapted was Mr. Sinister trying to steal the genetics of Jean and Scott to force them to have a baby because he believes that baby is essentially like mutant Jesus.
Got you.
So I can't remember if he's like involved in this.
Wouldn't surprise me then. Or if at least in this case he might be.
Yeah.
They may tie it in.
I'm just trying to remember. So yeah, so I believe this is going to be Madeline Pryor, one of these two, Jean Grey's, and she's a Jean Grey clone.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember exactly how it goes together, but I'm so excited for this. The animation is sick. The fight scenes have been phenomenally put together. They're being really creative with the characters' powers, which is sometimes a stumbling block of these kinds of shows.
Yeah.
But fortunately for them, the X-Men have always had the most like out there powers. So it gives them a lot more fun to have. If my girl Storm doesn't get her powers back ASAP, I'm gonna start a riot because Storm is the fucking goat.
No, I reckon she will.
She absolutely has to. I don't want to live in a world without Storm in the X-Men. I assume this is like, I mean, the original X-Men cartoon did adapt a lot of like comic book storylines at the time because it was back in the 90s when you weren't really allowed to just make stuff up for a cartoon.
Yeah.
And it looks like with Nathan Summers and the clone, maybe they're doing that again. So maybe this is an adaptation of a storyline where Storm lost her powers. And if that is the case, that does mean Storm will get her powers back. But I don't want to have to go too much longer because the way Storm uses her powers and talks with that like goddess voice while she's doing it,
Mm.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, it
It's
was
so
very
lit.
cool. Also, I fully vibe with the Mohawk Storm that we
Yeah,
now
oh,
have.
such a sick look. And it was
Um,
also really cool to hear the Sentinels refer to her as an Omega level threat.
yes, I picked
That
up
was
on that.
really cool. Yeah, really, really cool.
I have to
Um,
say, when the Sentinels showed up, it was like a nostalgia hit because obviously we ended up getting them in one film, the Sentinels.
yeah, X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah, but it was like
But they weren't even like a main part of the film.
no,
They were
but
like
I have this
they were
like
the
obviously
concern of the film.
they were in the Deadpool Wolverine game,
Yeah,
and I have like that strong memory of the Sentinels being like this big X-Men threat, and then obviously the cartoons. And it was like as soon as they're back, I'm like, oh, now I'm getting the nostalgia hit properly
yeah.
of the intro music, and then we're getting Sentinels fighting them. This is like okay, it was very cool.
I hope we get some more X-Men as well. Just give me everyone. I don't care if it's seen as jangly keys and fan service. This entire show is fan service. They had like two rules when, like Kevin Feige had two rules before greenlighting this project. He was like, we get the original voice actors back,
Mm-hmm.
and we make sure we're gonna do it properly and like tell good stories.
Well, I mean, now
Just
they've got the island right, and it's gonna be part of the UN. Gives
yeah,
them a free excuse to just have a moment on like a clip that's on the island, and it's like, oh look, there's some more mutants in the background that everybody knows.
yeah, I'm so excited. It's really really cool what we've seen so far.
Mhm.
The action feels elite. The storytelling is tonally very similar to the original. So once
Mm.
you've got that, which is the iconic storytelling, matched with their ability to do the action scenes so much better,
Mm-hmm.
and this obsession they seem to have already in the first two episodes of using the powers in the coolest ways, this
Yeah,
could be an all timer.
I mean, Morph has already essentially given us multiple X-Men and
Yeah,
mutants just purely by using their powers in many different ways,
yeah.
which I thought was very
I
cool.
I'm loving it so much. This is the action in these first two episodes is
Mm.
the gold standard. Stop just going, how would this fight happen? And instead go, what is the coolest fucking thing I can squeeze into this fight? Because let's be
Yeah.
honest, Storm didn't need to turn the desert into glass and use the glass shards as a weapon.
No.
She didn't need to do that. But would it have been anywhere near as cool if she didn't? No.
Well, it's like Beast didn't need to take over a Sentinel's body, but the way
No.
he did that as well was really funny and cool. And the
Exactly.
way he got knocked out of it also was very funny.
Yeah. Did Gambit need to fucking turn Wolverine into a little mini nuke? No.
No.
Are we glad he did? Yes.
Yes.
This is all I want this entire action to be. Just I want it to feel like every time there was the next fight scene was getting scripted, they were like, wait, no, we have to do something more awesome than last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
no,
just so cool. I love it so much.
it
Um,
was very good, and it's good to be back.
Also, I love the slight little change they've made to how they show off Magneto's powers. So they used to just go for like the woo, 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 like ray gun
Mm.
almost looking effect. And I like instead now when he's moving stuff, they just like
Glow.
highlight the metal thing he's moving with a
Have
little
they
glow.
also changed the color of? I feel
Um,
like he
it
was
was yellow
very
in the
red.
comics.
Okay.
Oh, you mean his suit
Well, no, I know his suit was.
redesigned?
Yeah, and I also just feel like maybe it's just me remembering more of his suit, but he was like very red color coded
Yeah,
with
he
his
was a lot
powers
more
as
red.
well.
They've made him a bit purpley, but his power was always yellowy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They've made it a bit more glowing yellow instead of a muted yellow.
Right.
Um, but really, really cool. All of the slight art, like stylistic changes they've made, I think are very worthy of the decision.
Oh yeah.
I just want more of it. This is, and they've already said like season 2 of this is already written and greenlit, and
Nice.
they are ready to go on a third season if this does well.
And I feel
Um,
like it's going to.
yeah, I mean, if as long as they think there's stories to tell there, why the fuck wouldn't you? You
Yeah.
had LeBron James tweeting out going, I used to
Yeah,
love
I
this
saw
show.
that. He's like,
Where
how
can
do
I
I
watch
watch it? Which I also thought was wild. How did you not know Disney Plus is a thing?
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro.
But yeah, I like that. Just like, when was the last time a massive superstar like that was tweeting out about a Marvel project, let
True.
alone a Marvel animated TV show?
How much do you want to bet they now just like have him appear in season 2? Because of
Just
that
getting them for a
tweet,
little
they're
cameo.
like, yo, we need to get just, even if it's him on a TV or something.
I mean, what year did LeBron James join the NFL? It was like 2001.
They could have him voice like a young, just on a basketball court somewhere.
2003 was his NBA debut. So season 6 of X-Men '97, they could have him in. They could just have a little TV showing the NBA draft of where he gets drafted. That'd be cool. I've got a feeling Professor X doesn't stay dead. I'm curious to
Okay.
see how they bring him back and when. I'm excited for more of this clone saga. Bearing in mind the X-Men have met Cable, I'm interested to see if and when they find out that Nathan becomes Cable.
When they put it together.
Yeah, I want to know if Mr. Sinister's involved. I want to know if we're going to get Sunspot joining the X-Men team or if that was just like a little cameo. And I want to know why Magneto is dressed so horny. These are the big questions going into next week.
Because it's 2023 and
I
Rogue's
don't.
off the table, Magneto's on.
I saw a still grabbed from the show,
Okay.
and it's like, like the meme that was going around a while ago. You better not be, and then I think the one for this was you better not be cunty Magneto with childbearing hips when I get there, and it's like my dumb ass, and then it's just a picture of him like lying on the desk.
Oh dear.
So funny, so
Oh
funny. There
dear.
is, you can tell, like, forgetting all of like the other bullshit about this is woke and all that rubbish. Purely on the funny side of it, how did anyone who like had friends who were like obsessed with the X-Men growing up not twig that their friend might be maybe not traditional in either like being neurotypical or maybe gay or maybe trans or something? Because the X-Men really are just we have a character for everyone. Do you
Yeah.
feel alone in this world? Here is a character. You are no longer alone. And that's what I love about them. They're there for everyone.
Yeah, this is true.
Should we get on to some Nerd News Network?
Yes, I think we should. Quite a bit this week.
Just even more good news. We're just soaking in the good news this week, Horizontal. The Acolyte trailer is here. Oh, it looks so good, man. Do you know what it looks like at first glance from that trailer?
Go on.
It looks tonally like they were inspired by Andor, but story-wise, looks like they're inspired by the mysticism of Ahsoka. And that sounds like a good damn time.
Yeah, well, I mean, High Republic era is... I don't...
Because this is 100 years before the Phantom
So
Menace. Is that considered High Republic?
Yeah, so this is essentially, from what they've mentioned and what people have worked out, this is end of High Republic era. Hence the whole thing, like, in a time of light, darkness is starting to grow, which puts it roughly about 100 years before Episode 1.
Cool.
Which the High Republic era was like 500 years long before.
Awesome.
So this is, to put it in, like, for people that don't know much about the High Republic era, because it is, I've looked up stuff because it's relatively new in the grand scheme of Star Wars lore.
Yeah.
And is slowly being explored through books and stuff, which are all canon. And the fans of those books have been loving, which is why people are very excited. But High Republic era is generally considered, it is peace times. Though at this point, probably the Outer Rim planets are like frontier vibe, lots of pirates and bounty hunters and whatnot. But it's peacetime. There isn't any war. As far as all the, obviously the Jedi are like the most powerful group of people at the moment and are seen as these highly important people. As far as they're aware, the Sith were believed to be wiped out, but the Jedi, all like top Jedi Masters and stuff, do know that the Sith rule of two existed, and obviously are aware that the Sith did exist. They're not just like, oh, we don't know anything about the Sith, but they're considered to like have been wiped out.
So just because this person is evil doesn't mean they're a Sith. I think this is where a
No.
lot of confusion stems. The Force exists,
Yes.
and underneath Force users, there are two very distinct factions: the Jedi and the Sith.
Mhm.
And while everyone has a light or dark side alignment,
Mhm.
like a Sarge Ventress would be dark side aligned, but by the time we're coming up between the Bad Batch, she's no longer a Sith. She's
No.
just a Force user who is more aligned to the dark side.
Yes. So like just like the Sith is at this point, it's now on the point of like there is a Sith rule of two. So like you essentially should only have two Sith people who are just extremely powerful dark sided force users. There is one theory going off what the trailer showed that there's a line about it's not about whether it's good or bad, it's like who should be allowed to use the powers or whatever. I can't remember the exact wording of what's said in the trailer. In one of the books for the High Republic, there is like some little cult almost that are like Jedi, no one should use the power of the Force. Like it's like a thing for the gods and it shouldn't
Ah,
be. So it might even be that that's sort of going on. That
and they view
there's a
the
group of
Jedi as
people being like,
heretics.
the Jedi shouldn't be using the Force. It's a power beyond anyone should be using. And then maybe there is Sith. Like the thought is we could get to see what essentially is the end. In this series, they may set up or show what is the end of the High Republic era. We might see sort of how it ended, and maybe we get to see how Palpatine came along. Goodbye,
Maybe.
Darth Sidious. Or Darth Plagueis. Um,
Are we going to get to see the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
who knows?
What I will say is something that I've wanted in live action for a long time is finally happening. Wookiee Jedi!
Yes. Did you know?
Wookiee Jedi!
Apparently, that Wookiee Jedi is a known character, and apparently, he's like a Lone Ranger sort of Jedi.
Nice.
But yeah, he is a Wookiee Jedi. There's a few different things with like the guy that was teaching the younglings is like elder Jedi master or whatever at the time. The one with the Killmonger haircut that I saw everyone being like, "Oh no, they brought the Killmonger hair. The Killmonger haircuts made it to Star Wars."
Yeah.
Apparently, he is a by the book Jedi.
Okay.
Um, and then obviously we see like a smattering of others.
Well, yeah, a lot of the discussions are like, what other Jedi's do we already know that we might see? So there's a fan theory that we might see Plo Koon because of like the lifespan of his species. He might be a Jedi around this time. Of
There,
course,
yeah.
Yoda might be a Jedi around this
Yoda
time.
is a Jedi master in this time
So there's a real
already.
chance we at least get a reference to him and maybe see him.
I don't know if we'll see him. I would imagine at this period of time he's a lot more active as a Jedi
Yeah.
Master.
It'd be
So
really cool to see him though. A
I
young
think,
Yoda.
well, he'd already be quite old at this point, I think, but he would maybe at least get mentioned. Someone I saw online mentioned was Hu Yang would be about building lightsabers.
Oh my
That would
god,
be a pretty
yes.
sick one if we got
That'd
to
be
see
really, really cool.
just him with
That'd be
all
really
like
cool.
the younglings in High Republic
Yeah.
era building lightsabers.
Yeah, that'd be really, really cool to see actually.
I really enjoyed in the trailer how much we're getting like hand to hand combat Jedi's with like we're gonna see like Ezra force hold like he did in Ahsoka, but like what it actually can, how powerful it can be. So I think we're gonna get some very cool like fights here that in a vibe that's a lot more martial arts that we haven't really got to see.
Yeah. And it
Uh,
was also really cool to see some of the Jedi sporting the yellow Sentinel
mm,
lightsaber blades. Because
yes.
we've known that yellow lightsaber blades were a thing for a long time now, but we've not spent enough time where the Jedi Order was like functional to really get to see Sentinels and like their
Mm,
lightsabers. So it was really cool in that one clip in the trailer to see lightsabers ignite, and we've got like an even mix
hmm
of blue, green, and yellow. That was cool.
Yeah, that
Um,
the vibe of that in the forest gave me big um Old Republic game cinematic vibes where there's just like
for sure.
many. Obviously, we're not going to get many Sith versus many Jedi, though that would be sick. But I'm excited. I'm very excited for this series.
Yes. Now this is one thing that I saw quite divisive on Twitter, and I'm
Mm.
really curious to see what your take is. So the head writer of the Acolyte has said that they had a member of the writing room who'd never seen Star Wars.
I'm okay with it. If it had been the entire writing room was like, we've never seen Star Wars, then I'd be like, was Dave still at least around to kind of guide this thing? But to have like one or two writers who have never actually watched Star Wars or don't like paid attention to it, kind of, and I saw the reasoning was apparently so it's like the head writer wanted some different perspectives so they didn't fall into the trap of, oh, we're all big fans of Star Wars. We get to write a new show. Ooh, they did this thing in the Skywalker trilogy. We should try this. And it's like, you could very easily fall into a trap of it just feeling like Skywalker era.
Fanfic, yeah.
Well, even
Um,
just like, it's not meant to be the Skywalker era. We're writing, they need to write as if it's High Republic era, and that kind of needs new perspective and brought into
I
it.
mean, they also had, I believe, at least one writer on the Andor team who'd never seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's kind of there as a checks and balance system, because
Mm.
how often have we heard, like, anyone who's ever had a job, you'll go, why do we do this way? And they'll go, oh, that's the way it's always been done.
Yeah, because you could
But
have like a
you
writer be
need
like,
someone to question it.
You could have had a writer be like, "Oh, they're in like this is what so and so planet or like this thing," and then they'll just go, "Oh, I thought we were writing as if it was High Republic era," and that kind of checks people to be like, "Oh yeah, we need to remember we're not. This isn't a Skywalker era story. Like we need to remember we're
Yeah.
telling a different time of."
There are so many talented writers out there. Like say, as long as it's not the entire room's never seen
Mm,
Star Wars, having one or two writers who you know are good writers who've not seen Star Wars is a good thing. It
mm,
helps you keep it fresh. And no one's saying that you like let them dictate the entire thing, but they will definitely help keep it fresh and stop you again falling into that trap of just writing what can seem almost like fan fiction.
mm, yeah,
Um, and I'm like, there's been so many fans who are losing their mind, and they're like, "Oh my god, they've never even seen it. They don't care. Why don't they care?" It's like, no, they do care. They care about doing a good job. So trust that they're going to try and write something good, and
hmm,
then the people in the room who have seen Star Wars will find a way to make sure that makes sense.
yeah, 100%. I'm just,
Um,
I hope this does turn out as like well as we're all hoping it is, and it's really well received, and it proves that Star Wars can start to move away from Skywalker era
yeah,
because
for
there's
sure.
so many like this High Republic era was such a cool era to talk like to tell stories in. We're getting the film that's going to be the Dawn of Jedi, which is like
Hmm.
way back. So like we're getting closer to a potential high Sith era story.
Yeah, I want it. I want it
Yeah.
so bad. I mean, me and you, when they first announced this project, what, like 2 years ago, whatever it is now,
Mm.
me and you were like, that is giving old school vibes. I'm
Oh,
excited. I want it. I need it. It looks great. Um, and I'm so excited that we're nearly there. I can't wait.
yeah, it's going to be so good.
Gen V season 2
Mm.
is rumored to start filming in the next like couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks by the sounds of it.
Yes, very exciting.
We have feasted on so many good shows while we've been doing this podcast,
We have.
and Gen V is right up there as one of my favorites.
Oh, it was great.
So much fun. Um, and the way that we're going to jump to season 4 of The Boys, which will tie in a little bit,
Mm.
and then what the outcome of that is going to affect Gen V season 2
Mhm.
slightly is really cool. And I'm just
Oh yeah,
more.
knowing that season 2 is gonna basically be set right after season 4 of The Boys, it's
Yeah,
gonna be interesting to see what happened from season one into the season four of the boys, what we get to see there, how it kind of moves forward, and then where we think season two of Gen V is going to go.
Exactly.
And I'm
Um,
so down for this like kind of flip flop between Gen V
yeah,
and
I
the
mean,
boys.
and here's the thing: it might sound like we're just like massive people who's like, "Oh yeah, just keep giving us this shit and we'll watch it." It's like, no, it's really good at the minute, which is why we want more. If
Mm.
it starts getting shit, we'll be like, "Okay, please stop."
Yeah, we'll be like, that's enough,
But
Gen V.
right now, it's really fucking good. So yes, give me more.
Mm, 100%.
Mr. Beast on Twitter reveals
Mm.
more info around his Prime Video show. He's claimed that there will be 1,000 contestants competing for $5 million. When asked why he was working with Prime Video in particular, he said he chose them as they were the only ones who'd let him do what he wanted.
I feel like I predicted correct when we talked about this, because when we first saw about this deal, we were trying to work out like what's he going to do, because obviously his videos are very short, fast paced, kind of contained
Well, it's
little
interesting because
things.
he said on Twitter a few weeks back, he's like, I realized the way we were making videos
Mm.
before wasn't actually the best we could do. So I've decided to slow it down a little bit and let the videos breathe a little bit, let stuff happen. And I'm enjoying his videos more now that he's doing that. I don't
Yeah,
feel like
he
it's
he
difficult to
because
watch.
obviously, let's be real, a lot of the YouTube creator space has been like, holy shit, Mr. Beast is doing so well. He must be doing it right. Let's follow the trend. And then Mr. Beast, obviously, there's a lot of people have been like, this is like everyone just does Mr. Beast style now. This is getting a bit kind of boring, cut and dry. And then Mr. Beast is like, yeah, by the way, we're going back to more story focused, longer form, like slowing it down.
Yeah, let
And
it breathe.
we actually think this is how YouTube should be. To which some creators are like, oh my God, he finally said it. Thank God
Yeah.
we can move away from this Mr. Beast style.
I respect Mr. Beast. He's obviously done phenomenal things, and I'm
Mm,
not claiming that I am some genius when it comes to content. I have, however, long said that YouTube videos don't need to be stupidly long, but you've got to let
no.
the thing breathe and let the story develop.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he was really getting to the point where he was so desperate to keep it short that he was cutting some of the heart and soul out of the videos.
Mm.
And now he's just letting that be there, and they are so much more entertaining as a result of it.
Yeah. And so when we first heard this deal, it was before that tweet, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, why is he going to do with Prime? And I was like, what if he just does like essentially his Squid Game thing where he had all those contestants, but he just does like a huge one and we get to see like week by week and it's like it's drawn out. And you're like, not sure that's Mr. Beast's style to get his viewers on board. But then it seems like he is literally doing some giant game show essentially.
I'm really curious to see if this is 1,000 contestants for a game show competing for $5 million, or if he's doing like 10 episodes. Each episode has 100 contestants competing for 500,000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. I
I don't know how it's being structured. Either way will be obviously interesting to watch, but the notion of 1,000 people battling over 10 weeks for $5 million at the end, I think is a lot more, wow, that's crazy and new, than just 10 episodes of 100 people fighting for 500,000.
Do you know what he could do it as? Is like it's 1,000 contestants, but it is 10 groups of 100, and it's like episode what like they're all in the same contest, but they're like grouped.
Got ya.
And then it's like, oh, episode one, we're gonna follow this group, and people then get like, oh, we like these people, and then the next episode it goes to a different group, and then it's like, then halfway through like however long this season is or this show, it then starts focusing on the whole contest. And everyone by that point is like, okay, we like that person in that group and we want them to win, but we don't like. And then that gets people hooked because you need to, for that, you need people like with this, what happened with Squid Game, even though that was a like fiction thing, it was like people got attached to certain characters.
It's what you have for a game show to work over multiple episodes with the same contestants. You need to make the viewers care about someone.
Mm,
Or even if that's like in a negative way of like anyone but that person, I just don't want that person to win. You
Yeah.
need to have some kind of feeling about about a contestant to make the show a success. And I do think him understanding like the fault in his YouTube videos in that sense has probably come from this process,
Mm,
and working with them a little bit, he's kind of realized and he's gone, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
So I'm actually more excited for his show now that we have a bit more information, but now that we also know he's
Mm,
grown a little bit and he understands letting stuff breathe a little, I'm
yeah.
actually more excited for this show, and I'll be curious to see it when it comes out.
Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see as he releases a bit more details on it as well.
Yes. Um, on a podcast with one of the producers for X-Men '97 and a staff writer at Marvel, I believe.
Oh.
Um, they announced that a Nova project is in early works.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Nova is a superhero that I know very, very little about,
Mm.
but essentially he is like the last of the Nova Corps,
Okay.
which people will remember from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So now that we know Xandar got destroyed as a result of
Mm.
Infinity War,
Yes.
there is a real chance that like this makes a lot of sense, and he is the last of the Nova Corps again, and
Yeah.
he has like he's slightly different because he does have some kind of like cosmic energy based powers, but
Okay.
he was also part of the Nova Corps. Um, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes and how that ties into the wider. Obviously, it's very early in the MCU. We've not even been told that it's 100% happening. They might just be
Yeah.
doing treatments for a script to work out if it's worth doing,
Could be on
but
the
definitely worth to
whiteboard
keep an
sort of
eye on.
thing.
Exactly that. I imagine there have been Kevin Feige going, we are interested in potentially doing a film around these characters.
Hmm.
Get some scripts in, and we'll see if there's anything here.
It
Um,
also, with Marvel Spotlight, and then they're going to be like, we need a few things to get going to get this off the ground. What characters could we potentially do Marvel Spotlight stuff on?
and also with the Marvel animation branding being a thing now,
Mm.
maybe it's
Yeah.
something for that. Maybe they're just
True.
like, hey, this guy has got a lot of animation abilities here, like
Yeah, that's true.
very animationable character. Why don't we see if it's worth doing an animated show for him?
Also a good point.
I don't think they would have created the Marvel animation branding unless they were ready to get back into the cartoon space properly.
Mm. Yeah.
And the quality of X-Men '97 actually makes me really excited for that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Um, Another big bit of news, which is going to be scary, but for now it's just exciting. A live-action Teen Titans movie is being worked on for the DCU. The Hollywood Reporter reports. It's really cool. The Teen Titans are sick. I love late teenager, early 20s superhero teams
Mm.
because you can have a lot of fun with the superhero side, the immaturity side, the inherent sexual tension between the characters.
Yeah.
Like it works. It has a lot going on.
Yep.
The big problem is Teen Titans fans are some of the weirdest in the DCU fandom or DC fandom, sorry. And once this film gets closer to like any kind of castings
Mm.
and plot reveals and costume reveals and the film coming out, there is going to be so much toxicity and infighting around it. It's going to be horrific.
Yeah. To be
So
honest,
I
I
almost
think
need them to do this almost completely in secret and then just go, in 3 weeks the film's coming out, here's a trailer, and then just wait.
I mean, and also we need James Gunn to be like, kind of hit the ground running with DCU, that all the DC fans are like, huh, he knows what he's doing, and kind of gain a bit of a base level, like, okay, he's put out a few things now. We like James Gunn's DCU.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a rose tinted glasses kind of person. I get excited when we get film announcements for stuff we haven't really had before. We've never had
Yeah.
a live action Teen Titans film. That's exciting. We've never had any real Nova project. That's exciting. These characters that would never have been given a chance normally
Mm.
have got a chance to potentially be a big part of someone falling in love with superhero media. And
Yeah.
it's great. Um, And in a world where they seem to be like more worried and they want more bankers, like a Superman and a Batman and a Spider-Man, I wish they take more risks on your Guardians of the Galaxies.
Yeah, and I mean James Gunn has been known to do that, so
Exactly. And honestly, with the MCU or Bob Iger claiming that they want to go for a bit more
play safe.
reliable
Mm.
projects, I think it'd be really, really cool to see James Gunn on the flip side go fuck it, greenlight anything out there.
Like, oh, Marvel's gonna keep it cut and dry and pretty boring for a bit. We can go a bit wild and we'll get
Yeah,
all the
what is the
proper
weirdest
comic
team we can put
fans.
together? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Boys season 4 is rumored to only have 25 VFX shots left away from being finished.
I mean that in the grand scheme of things, probably not many left. Still, that's a lot of work to do because 25
Yeah.
VFX shots is still a
I
sizable
imagine over the
chunk.
course of the entire show, though, they probably have 100
Oh,
plus.
they'll have. I mean, a VFX shot is as simple as like comping in a bit of footage. So it's like there'll
So,
be thousands probably of VFX shots in the Boys.
so yeah, a lot of work to go, and shout out to the goats who are working on that. But
Hmm.
it's so exciting how close this show's getting. It's so nice that you're excited with me.
Yes, I get to watch it live this
Yeah,
time.
it's gonna be fucking class. I'm so excited. That's gonna be like one of the first big releases that I watch all of it in my new home. That's gonna be class.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for
It's gonna
some
be
of the
good.
stuff we've got coming this year. We've not got many films this year. We've got a lot of exciting films, but like not as many films as we've had in other years. Like even
Mm,
compared to what we're expecting next year.
true.
But TV wise this year, we are feasting. There is so much exciting TV and animate. It's been a brilliant year for animation already, and we've still got a few more
Yeah,
animated projects coming down the line as well. I'm pretty sure. So it's
most
just
likely.
so exciting. But that is it from us this week. We have
Yes,
had
it is.
this has been a very positive and exciting episode. I feel
It
lots of good
has.
news, lots of good shows, just absolutely all of it. I'm so excited. I want more Bad Batch. I'm excited for more Invincible. X-Men 97 is
Hmm.
cooking. We have never been more back.
Yep. And I'm so ready for Acolyte.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.